Hello, everyone. So today we're going to cover the big one. Will housing get affordable in Canada, or will it crash? Doesn't necessarily have to crash, because cost, the amount you pay for real estate, is the price of the real estate and the interest cost of borrowing to buy the real estate. Most people, they need that. So the last time we had a national crash, we'll see later, we've had regional crashes, but a national crash, which is right here, was in the 1990s. We've had other times where affordability did get better post GFC, but that was nothing compared to what happened during the 90s. And you'll see even the 90s wasn't that bad. So when we're talking about affordability, this chart breaks up the different housing types: single, detached in the blue, you've got condos in the light blue, and right here through the middle is the aggregate long-term average. So you can see affordability can get worse, and then generally it gets better. It can get worse, and then it gets better. Gets worse, you could argue it stands to reason that it will get better in the future. So you can see here this chart is ownership cost as a percent of median household income. So the aggregate long-term average is just above 40%. Right now we're sitting above 60%. So it takes over 60% of household income to buy a house right now, to afford a house. Again, that's the price of the house plus the interest. So first let's look at price. What has that been doing? How is price contributing to better affordability over the last couple of years? So if we look at price has been trending down nationally. Since the peak here in 2022, it has been consistently trending down. The other component is interest, and since it peaked, this is 5-year discount variable mortgage rates. This is when everybody was piling into variable mortgage rates. So since 23-24, interest rates have been going down. So affordability has been getting better because the price of real estate is going down and the borrowing cost is going down. And I just wanted to quickly touch on wages. The reason I want to touch on wages is they aren't really a factor in this discussion. Wages end up rising pretty steadily. They'll move up into a recession, fall down after a recession. You can see there was a recession that caused this. There was a recession that caused this. This only goes to 2021. And we did have a COVID recession. Question is, will we have another recession? But for now, let's compare what stopped the fall here in 1990. This is affordability getting consistently better for about a decade. And affordability stayed pretty good up until the early 2000s. So what stopped the fall? And importantly, how does that compare to today? So again, we'll look at price. And this is Toronto real estate prices. And this is a great chart to see the cyclicality of real estate. Real estate doesn't always go up. You can see a 5-year decline here in the 60s. You can see a 11-year decline from 74 to 85. And the one we're interested in right here is the 1990 crash. So in Toronto specifically, that was about a 27% nominal drop in real estate prices. So that definitely helped affordability in Canada. If we look at average versus inflation adjusted, you can see there's a big difference. The average went down from 273,000 to about 200,000. So maybe not so bad. Inflation adjusted, it looks a lot worse. And if we look at real residential prices in Canada, so this is national, you can see it doesn't look terrible. There was basically a lost decade and a half maybe before real estate prices in real terms returned to their peak of the early 90s. But did you die? Was it that bad? Toronto, as you saw, maybe it was that bad. So because we're looking at national prices, okay, Toronto went down hard, but Vancouver, it actually went up during the early 90s. So now that we've looked at price, definitely a factor, let's look at interest rates. So If we look at this chart of prime mortgage rates, not the rate you'd get, but prime, you can see from the bubble top in the 1990s at 14.75% prime rate to November 1993, only 3 and a bit years after, it was down to 5.5%. This percent should be over here. So that is a drop in financial speak of 925 basis points. That's a big drop. So you can imagine that definitely helped the cost. If your borrowing costs go down that much during that short time frame, that's definitely going to make things much more affordable. But the question is, will it happen again? Will it happen again? You can see in this chart from RateHub a 5-year discounted variable mortgage rate from 2008 to 2022. It basically fell. It is currently falling, but the question is, will it fall to the degree it did in the past? Will we have that big tailwind going forward? I think it's pretty obvious from this chart, we're not going to get this type of move again. We don't have the room. We don't have any room right now. So we aren't going to have that generational tailwind for real estate, in my opinion. If you disagree, you can leave it in the comments. So will we, like the 1990s, what's going to make affordability better? Are we going to get a 925 basis point move in interest rates? Now, this is prime, so this isn't your discount mortgage rate or anything. But will we get a big move in interest rate? Probably not. Which, to put another way, we aren't going to get that to save the real estate market. In the 1990s, they had this benefit. We won't have that benefit, most likely. Now, some people are going to talk about population. The new bull case is population growth. And recently, we had epic population growth. Some would say criminal, but either way, it was a huge population growth. But is that going to last? As you can see here, we did have huge population growth. Is it going to continue? Leave it in the comments. And as we can see for population growth outside of this anomaly, population growth basically stays pretty steady. The other factor you have to consider is recession, which we're going to get into, and robots and AI, which we're not going to get into in this discussion. But really quickly, if you do have robots, AI taking a lot of jobs, it's really hard to have immigration. You can't have huge job losses and bring in a bunch of people. It just doesn't work. And as far as recession goes, the question is, will we have another recession? Recessions happen pretty regularly. And here you can see unemployment. Unemployment is a good indicator. You can see as unemployment ticks up, it eventually goes parabolic and you have a recession. It ticks up, goes parabolic, you have a recession. Ticks up, goes parabolic, you have a recession. Ticks up. Will we have a recession? Will unemployment go parabolic? Good question. If you are particularly optimistic, you might say, no, this time's different. We won't have a recession. You can see unemployment right now is kind of flattening out. Maybe it'll go down again. We'll leave it in the comments what you think. And as we're talking about population, we could talk about fertility rate, the birth rate. This line around 2.2 is replacement. That means you're having enough children to replace the previous generation. We are way below that line, and we've been below that line for a long time. We did have a bit of a bump here in the 90s, but chances are there isn't really a reason on the horizon for us to be having a lot of children and creating a lot of demand. Another thing we won't get into in this video is demographics in a big way, because demographics is another thing we had during the 1990s that we might not have now. So with all of that considered, do we have anything in 2025 and 2026 that we didn't have in the 1990s? Something that's going to save the real estate market. Population growth, I don't think it's going to be there. Yes, we had a big spike, but if you look at where we are now, between 0 and 0.2%, it doesn't look like population is going to save us. Fertility, definitely not. Interest rates falling, Again, we aren't going to get the generational interest rate move we did over the last 40 years. It's just not possible. Interest rates can't go negative 10%. Is there anything else that I've left out that you can think of that will save the market in 2025 that maybe we didn't have in 1990? And one of them might be interest rates staying low. You might say, well, interest rates will stay low. And I did make a video about that. Hopefully I'll link it at the end of this video. So the question again is, will we have a crash, or will real estate get more affordable? For real estate to get more affordable, we probably need a crash because we don't have interest rates to save us. The only thing left to help affordability is prices going down. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button. That video about interest rates should be here, I hope. And we'll see you in the next video.